All right, let's talk about a period that didn't just change history. It literally forged the world we live in today. This is the story of the Age of Revolutions. It was this incredible, chaotic time of fire, new ideas, and powerful machines that completely reshaped everything.
So, first things first, what do we even mean by revolution? It's not just a change in government, right? A real revolution is a total, ground-up transformation. It's when society gets so fundamentally shaken that it becomes something else entirely. The old rulebook is torn up and a new world is being born from the ashes.
Here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to look at this whole era as one massive chain reaction. It starts with an economic earthquake, the Industrial Revolution. That, in turn, sparks a political fire in America, which then fuels this huge social explosion in France. And finally, we'll see how all of it came together to build the world you and I know today.
Okay, let's jump into that first link in the chain. This was a revolution fought not with guns and armies, but with coal, steam, and brand new ideas that would change the very fabric of daily life forever.
Now, what's really important to get here is that the Industrial Revolution wasn't a single event. It didn't just happen overnight. No, this was a slow burn, a transformation that unfolded over generations, starting with these first little sparks in Britain around 1750. So the big question is, why Britain? Why did it all kick off there? Well, it basically came down to a perfect storm, this unique combination of three crucial things. You can call them the three C's. First, coal. They had tons of it, and it was easy to get to. Second, capital. They had a rich merchant class just looking for the next big thing to invest in. And third, colonies. A massive global empire that could supply raw materials and then buy back all the finished goods.
And the fallout from this, it was absolutely staggering. This one revolution pretty much created all of the pillars of our modern world. People flooded from farms into brand new, crowded cities. We saw the birth of entirely new social classes, like the industrial working class. Even the family itself changed because work wasn't at home anymore. It was in a factory. And all this turmoil gave us the political ideas that still define our world: socialism, liberalism, and conservatism. It even created industrial-scale warfare, a terrifying reality we still live with today.
Okay, so you've got this massive economic and social engine revving up. That sets the stage perfectly for our next big transformation, this time across the Atlantic. This was a revolution not of machines, but of some really radical new ideas about government and freedom. And this is where things get really interesting. You got to ask yourself, the British had just spent a fortune in money and lives defending the American colonists from the French. So why on earth, just a few years later, did those same colonists turn around and rebel? Well, it really all comes down to where you were standing. If you were in London, it seemed totally fair. The thinking was, hey, we protected you. You should help pay for the army that keeps you safe. Simple. But if you were in the colonies, it felt completely different. For 150 years, they'd mostly been left alone to govern themselves. Suddenly, new taxes from an ocean away felt like a total violation of their rights. And that's where we get the famous cry, no taxation without representation. So the colonists, drawing on these huge, powerful ideas from the Enlightenment, didn't just argue about taxes. They declared something brand new, this radical vision for how a society could work. And they put it in writing. A society built on liberty, rights, and this incredible idea that all men are created equal. But, and this is a huge but, that incredible idea of equality had some very, very sharp limits. All men didn't actually mean all people. Women were left out, enslaved people were left out, indigenous populations were left out, and this created a massive contradiction right at the very heart of this new country. A deep tension that, you could argue, continues to shape the United States to this day. Okay, so now let's hop back across the ocean to Europe, because the French, they saw what was happening. They read those Enlightenment ideas, and they decided to take them and crank them up to 11. This wasn't just about changing the government. This was an attempt to tear down and remake society itself. But here's the thing. While the American Revolution ended in a relatively stable new country, the French Revolution just completely spiraled out of control. It started in Paris as a revolt against the king and a broken system. But it didn't stop there. The fires spread to the countryside, and peasants rose up to literally tear down the old feudal order.
The whole system just collapsed, leading to the infamous Reign of Terror. And into that chaos, into that power vacuum, stepped a brilliant, ambitious general named Napoleon Bonaparte. And yet, out of all that chaos, something incredible and totally new was born: meritocracy. With the old nobles gone, a new system emerged where it didn't matter who your father was. All that mattered was your talent. This unleashed a wave of brilliant people from every walk of life, creating this fiercely effective new army, led by generals who got there because they were the best, not because they were born into it. So, after all that fire and chaos and upheaval, what does it all mean? Why should you care about this today? Well, let's connect the dots, because these three revolutions literally forged the world we are all living in right now. Think about it. So much of our world that we just take for granted was basically invented during this period. The global economy we live in, born in the Industrial Revolution. The idea of modern democracy and individual rights, that's the American Revolution's blueprint. The very concept of a nation and even the political language we use, left versus right, all of that came out of the French Revolution. This table breaks it down perfectly. You can really see how each revolution had its own unique mission. Britain's was all about the economy. It changed how we work and make things. America's was political. It changed how we think about government. And France's was social. It tried to change society itself, from the ground up.
But we have to talk about the massive hypocrisy at the heart of all this. These incredible new ideals of liberty and equality clashed often violently with the reality on the ground. The same nations that were championing freedom were also building massive colonial empires and getting rich from the brutal work of enslaved people.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most powerful thought. It comes from the Haitian Revolution. See, in the French colony of Haiti, enslaved people heard that revolutionary slogan, liberty, equality, fraternity, and they took it literally. They rose up, they threw out their masters, and they founded their own free nation. But what was their reward? For daring to take these revolutionary ideals to their logical conclusion, they were punished, isolated, and economically crushed by the rest of the world for centuries. And it leaves us with a really tough question. What is the true cost of a revolution? And who, in the end, is actually allowed to claim its rewards?